Hey
That sounds
guys,
good.
welcome back to That's So Effed Up. I'm following the podcast rules, Nick, or the YouTube rules. You can't swear in the first minutes, so I'm
I'm
trying.
well aware.
You're like, I know. That's So Effed Up, a podcast about cult and murder and other generally effed up stuff. And we recently did an episode called Coercion, Reality TV, Culty AF. Um, because we heard about some tea or dirt, whatever, if you will, that we're actually going to talk with Nick about. And I'm really excited to ask you one question, which is how can we ethically consume reality TV? Because I remember we were talking the other day on Instagram and I was like, man, like
The
I don't
guilt.
feel good about watching this stuff now. And you said maybe there's a middle ground. So we'll definitely get to that. So for everybody who doesn't know, I am host of the podcast, Ashley Love Richards. And today with me, I'm so excited to have Nick Thompson. This is the kind of energy that I bring to the table most of the time. So
Hey, I'm getting you on a Wednesday afternoon, the week before the holidays start. I don't think anyone's mentally 100% right now.
okay, you know what? True that. For a lot of my viewers, they know that a couple weeks ago I was I was living big, I was like, I'm going to do Monday mental health episodes and then Tuesday we're going to fucking cook and talk about a crime and then Fridays we're going to do a live episode, and then I lost my mind and didn't go live or talk to anybody for like a week because I was like, oh my god, what have I done?
That's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like I have because when I I had all the ambition in the world. Like I started a media company when I started my podcast because I was like, I'm like, this is gonna be so great. I'm gonna build a whole network. We're gonna talk about all things culture, mental health, news and like all the stuff I talk about on my show. But I figured like I'm gonna have one a day, and we're gonna just cover all these topics, and none of that has happened.
Every day you were going to do every day.
I wanted to get to the point where I was doing every day, or I had someone on my network that was doing it. And it got off to a little bit of a slower start than I had imagined, because it is hard making content. It is not easy.
You are telling me, buddy. But I mean, yeah. And we actually have a lot of content creators in the chat. My friend Apostate Alex is here. Alex, I'm sorry, but on Wednesdays we wear pink only applies if I'm recording with you. So I love you. But he was in Scientology. He has a awesome YouTube channel called Apostate Alex where
I
he
definitely want to check that out.
Oh man, we did a series together where he told me about the bridge to total freedom. I didn't even have to pay anything.
Oh wow.
So I got it for free.
Wow.
No bragsies.
No baptism or
No, I didn't have to like
anything.
yell at ashtrays or anything to find out that L. Ron Hubbard did. I don't know if he believed, but he at least said that he was Buddha and the Antichrist and that Jesus was a pedophile. Well, I don't think I can say that 5 minutes in. I don't know.
I was
Whatever.
gonna, yeah. Well, yeah. What's the line on
I don't know,
calling
man.
Jesus a pedo?
I don't know.
Like
Listen,
at the
that is
13-minute mark, maybe.
yeah. That is an L. Ron Hubbard quote, not an Ashley quote, you guys. He seemed like a pretty cool guy to me from what I can tell. What I'm like, what are we talking about?
I don't even know anymore.
Um,
What I was gonna say though, I'm sorry.
Building a foundation is hard.
That is hard.
Yeah.
Content is hard, but I do have a second podcast that's starting up at the beginning of the year. It's going to be called Mental Health Headline Hot Take, and I'll be doing that with Todd Renenbaum of the Bunny Hugs and Mental Health podcast. So we're going to just each bring an article into the podcast about mental health, and we're just going to debate it back and forth, discuss it, and see what keep people up in the news and what we think about what's happening in the world of mental health. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about that. I freaking look, Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is here.
Oh, where do you see that? Oh, I'm in private chat. Okay, let me get over here.
You see it on the screen? It says
Now
you've got a new one. Oh, Peggy put that up.
I see. Well, there
Peggy's
we go.
back,
That's
you
a good
guys.
prompt. Thank
She's
you.
she's hooking us up with the admin work. You guys, Peggy also has a YouTube channel where she talks a lot about mental health, clarity in chaos. Peggy,
Let's
that's
throw that
her.
up there. There we go.
Yeah. And I really just wanted to put up the thing that said I'm so freaking cute. Stop it, Peggy. Yeah, and so it's really awesome that you talk so much about mental health. I love that. And my first question is, can I come on at some point?
Yeah, of
I
course.
love I think like my favorite things to talk about are just like really generally weird, fucked up stuff,
Me too.
mostly coercion and control. And, we're going to get into the culty business, obviously, you guys. But that's kind of my, you said that's your main jam too. You love.
Oh my God. I mean, listen, I dabble in conspiracy theories and stuff too, because I just love like the way the human mind works and the way that it's so fascinating. I think I read, I think it might've been on your website that you like love psychology too. I think it's so fascinating the way that we do things, why we do things, and just the way it impacts our culture and our like day-to-day lives. And, it really does all tie together. So I'm like always looking for someone that wants to talk about that with me.
All day. Yeah, I mean, I actually wanted to talk about it weekly. On Monday, I fucking Nick, it sounds like you and I have a lot in common. I made a schedule. It was like a cool graphic. It was like now showing on Ashley's live YouTube, fucking weekly segments. And that happened for like maybe 2 weeks. And I was like, this is I kept
I
having
made a
panic attacks.
PowerPoint.
I was like having panic attacks all the time while I was telling people about like how to heal from complex trauma. I have complex trauma. Let me tell you how to heal. I am healing, you guys,
But for real, it is like
process.
that. But you know what my therapist told me? She told me this a while ago. She's like, therapists are the most fucked up people. She's like, they're the people that have really been through something and come out the other side. So and want to help people. So I think you maybe wanting to have a podcast where you talk about your complex trauma is perfectly normal and acceptable and helpful.
Thank you. That's very validating. I mean, I just spend so much time looking into mental health and I got diagnosed with panic disorder and complex trauma, complex PTSD a couple years ago, and that was like insanely helpful because prior to that, I just thought I had like everything that you could be diagnosed with. I was
Yeah.
like, that, yeah, I have that. Oh, yeah, yeah. And interestingly, complex trauma, which I would love to talk about, trauma that happens, within the reality world. But I just think it's great to be able to name that stuff so you can figure out like what's the best plan of attack. And if you can be really analytical and logical, sometimes that helps you not feel your feelings. Hot tip.
That's very true. Well, and also name it to tame it. That's where you got to start. That was my whole journey was like,
Ooh.
I was depressed since I was a kid and I had no idea what was wrong with me until like my 20s, maybe my late teens. And I just thought something was wrong with me. Like,
Yeah.
I used to say, I'm just wired different. That's what I would tell myself. And so until I realized what it was just like, you just avoid it, right? You just make up reasons and excuses.
I love name it to tame it. Did you make that up?
I did not.
Oh, that's good though.
I actually think if I remember correctly, one of the mental health counselors I had on my podcast said it. And I was just like, I'm taking that.
Yeah. I'm like, look, I'm one of these days when I get around to making t-shirts, I'm stealing that. But I'll give you half cred. How about that?
Love it. And making t-shirts is easier than you think. I can help you if you want help.
You know what? Let's just get through today, Nick. Let's try to get your foundation off the ground. You're like, listen, I don't have time to get my stuff done. Let me help you. That's me too.
I know. I can tell.
We're helping people. I love it. So, you guys, we are obviously going to talk more about mental health as it is what Nick focuses a lot of content of his on, and I focus on that a lot, and it's just something very important. I'm super excited to open up that conversation. And very political right now. I've got the the political hand. This guy, I got this guy going on. But we are going to talk about what is going on behind the scenes on reality TV. And obviously, Nick, you can't speak to all of them. You haven't been on all the shows. There's a lot of them.
It's really, I was I actually, hot off the press, talked to someone from a new season of a new show that I was cast on for season 2. And it's just like, it's all the same, no matter if it's, a show like Love is Blind, or if it's a show like Married at First Sight, or if it's a competition show, if it's a cooking show. I've heard and talked to people from all of them and all across the world. It's all the same.
Nick, have you talked to anybody from Alone?
I haven't, but I want to.
Please talk to somebody from Alone and like have them tell you that it's real. Please. Like that's all I just like, let me have Alone. Let me have that.
I'm sure. So here's the thing, like, and I guess it's like the whole ethical conversation too, right? The concepts of some of these shows are very like interesting, and it isn't necessarily that they're not true elements. It's that there's so much manufactured content and situations to get the drama, and then people are, deprived of sleep, deprived of food, deprived of pretty much everything except alcohol in most cases. And that's where you get these like hypersensitive and super dramatic explosions and experiences, because people are not at their best. In fact, they're probably at their worst and deteriorating in a lot of cases. And it's just crazy, because if in a show like Alone, even if it's not quote real, right, there has to be real elements, or it wouldn't be unscripted, right?
I'm just really buying the whole thing though, Nick. Like hook, line, and sinker, the whole show. I'm buying that one Alone. And I don't know, maybe I'm like romanticizing it in my mind, but I see these people go through this like very spiritual journeys, and I guess what amazes me about that one is just the like the how much humans can endure. Like I would be tapping within like 2 hours. I'd be like, oh, I'm super alone here. And then my thoughts would lose it. And then I can see the whole thing. I would have a panic attack, and then I would think I was dying. And then I would call them, and then I'd be like, I'm so sorry to the person who could have been here.
I don't think that's a wrong take. And there's so much isolation that goes on when you're filming a reality TV show too. And I mean, there's shows where there's exceptions and little exceptions, but it's by design to isolate you. So this is really just like taking the isolation process, right, and just making that the concept of the show with Alone.
And I mean, like, to make it super dramatic, but to make a point, the UN says that more than, I think, 3 days in solitary confinement is like a war crime or something. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I don't know if it was a war crime, but it's like torture.
Yeah, it's super
it's psychological
not cool.
Torture. Yeah.
That's very agreed on. Not cool. Yeah. So I think actually how we found each other is somebody from your foundation, I think, found our
social media manager.
Yeah. Shout out to the UCAN social media manager. Thank you. I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Because we had done an episode about coercion and control within reality television. And I, of course, have always been wondering what the hell is really going on. Because I'm aware that it is real and it's also manufactured. I think I'm definitely one of the people who leans more towards this is all real. But then I watched your 2-part interview with Danielle on your podcast, Eyes Wide Open, your ex-wife, Danielle Rule. See, I know who I'm talking to and what I'm talking about. I was just like, at the beginning, I was like, where am I? And, you know, okay, sorry, I am jumping the hell around. So your social media person found us, which is really exciting because we had talked about how culty and controlling it is in a lot of these reality TV shows. And then I watched the interview with you and Danielle, and you guys were talking about how so many of the situations were kind of like manufactured and how you guys had to have a fight that you had already resolved off screen. And I was just
Yeah,
like,
makeup. Yeah, we
oh
had to
my
make up.
God. I was,
It's so
it's
weird.
so many things being shattered, so many
Well, and then
illusions.
on top of that, it's like this whole situation where you're then like back in the fight again, which is I'm like, we already, it's like we already resolved this. And then, you have producers there, and it's like, what, like, why are they stirring this up again? Like, imagine you and your partner get in an argument, you go your separate ways, or you discuss it, you work it out, everything's fine. And then you have someone that comes in and just sits down with you guys and then starts triggering you about the argument again.
It's like the opposite of a couples counselor.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And, in a lot of situations, especially when you're in this show, when you're in the pods, it's like your producer is the only person that is not a cast member that you're talking to and you're getting advice from and you're bouncing ideas off of. It is a very, like, very weird state. And I had, said in a couple interviews, I met someone who survived a cult. I think it was probably like May of this year, maybe June, randomly. And I'm naturally curious about them. I always have been. And so I asked some questions, and then I was like, oh my God, this sounds like what I went through when we were filming. And so I started telling her some of the stuff, and she's like, yeah, this is the isolation, the psychological warfare, the torture, the, taking away everything and making you rely on them for everything, like all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, whoa. And I actually said that in an interview that, it was like a cult, and it's very, it's very similar in a lot of ways when you're doing. And by the way, for this show, you're gone for 3 weeks, then you come back kind of to your normal life where you go back to work and stuff. Some of these shows, you're gone for months and you're just isolated, and you're only allowed, one phone call a day. It's like prison at that point. It's very, very controlled. And you don't realize it's happening until it's like you're there. And for me, I didn't realize it until like a year ago when I finally started to like reflect on this stuff and look back on it. And I was coming out of, the public eye, but like having my divorce in the public eye. And I was coming out of it. I'm like, this is all really messed up. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
And that was, what prompted me to finally get with Jeremy Hartwell, who's a co-founder, and Dr. Isabel Morley, who's our psychologist, at the UCAN Foundation, and be like, okay, I'm in. Like, I'm going to do this because this isn't right, and somebody has to do something about it.
Which I'm so glad that you're doing, because obviously reality TV has been huge for decades now. And my bio used to say, I don't think it does, but for years it said when Ashley's not, like diving into weird macabre shit, she is eating too much candy and watching reality TV. Like, that was my jam. It was like my escapism, and I was like, it's all real. All of it's really happening. So I wanted to play a round of cult bingo. If
I'm
you're
so glad. I was going
interested.
to ask you if you wanted to play or if we could
Hell
play.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hell
let's do it.
yeah. Okay, so let me pull this up on the screen. Okay. So I think that let's just go ahead and apply this to like all reality TV. Do you think that's?
I think it's totally fair.
I think that's a fair way to do it. Yeah. Okay. So, I already know busy bees. Like, do they keep everybody busy?
You're depending on your definition of busy, yes, in my situation, we were mic'd for 18 to 20 hours a day, constantly reminded that we were on camera, not even really reminded, but constantly on camera and mic'd up for all hours. Even when you're like sitting on the couch or maybe talking to yourself or having a conversation or going to the bathroom, like you're always being filmed.
Wow. Yeah. And
Yeah, I started unplugging my mic when I went to the bathroom when they spoke something or knocked on my door. It was because they heard me cough, and this was COVID times. I'm like, okay, I am, taking bio breaks in private from this moment on.
Fair. Oh my gosh. And I heard that God, was it The Circle where they had to be on social media like 16 hours a day or something? Am I
I
only
think
like making that up?
was that I I I don't know if it was 16 hours, but there is something like that with the social. I had Tim Wilson from The Circle on my podcast a few months ago, and we were talking about all this circle stuff. It's wild. Like that show is a whole different beast.
No, that is wild. That's like it's like if all reality TV is a popularity contest, that's like the gnarliest one. Oh my God, I would feel ugh.
Well, and like,
Yeah.
what's the popularity contest? It's like whoever's the most dramatic or whoever's the worst, right?
Whoever the
Whoever's
most
the
hated.
villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever gets the villain at it.
Actually, I'm really curious. Um, like, do you think that people act or will play the villain on purpose so that they get more airtime?
So I think people will be more dramatic on purpose. I think so. Here's what I tell people to ask themselves: why does every single one of these shows have a villain? It's because it's manufactured. It's because they're edited that way. It's because you have to have. We as a society, we want black and white, good and evil, right? So if you don't have someone in there to be the protagonist and the antagonist in these stories, then where does it go? And I don't agree with that in reality TV because people are dramatic by nature, and you're going to get, we're all nuanced, right? I'm going to say and
Yeah.
do stupid things sometimes, and sometimes that happens. If you're on a reality show, you say and do something stupid and it gets caught, and then it becomes a thing, right? But I do think people act, in my experience, I think people kind of like amp up their personality a little bit. So if you're somewhat dramatic in real life, you're like extra dramatic on TV. If you're somewhat a jerk or mean, that just kind of gets amped up on TV.
Mhm.
I mean,
You
it's also editing.
You came off pretty normal and sane. So either you just really had your shit together or the editors loved you or both.
I used to have my shit together a lot better than I have recently.
I was just thinking about like what I would look like if somebody had a camera on me at all times with the things that I do and say in the privacy of my home. I like they would make me. I mean, I am insane and that would fucking show so much. Like so oh my God, I could not mm-mm. Also, I was thinking it's crazy because like the producer is the one who is manufacturing these situations, and then they're like your only friend too. Like how much of a mind fuck is that?
It's so true. It's so true. And they kind of like, in my experience, they position this early on. Like you get assigned a producer before you even go to the show. I talked to mine for several hours over several different nights. We did virtual happy hours. We did deep conversations where they're just really getting to like know your history and know why you are the way you are. And it's just,
That
it's
doesn't sound
very,
culty at all, Nick.
no, and then there's psych evaluations, which I'm, 100% convinced. I believe they are used to cast people, not to evaluate people, to become like a tool for producers and what stories they're trying to tell, what buttons to push, all of that stuff. It's just very like exploitative, and you're just kind of like, it is. It's very culty.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it's happening.
It's
It's
like,
just
let's
so
sit down and
slow.
tell me all about your trauma, Nick.
Right.
What really puts your buttons and triggers you just cuz I want to know as a friend. Cheers.
Yeah. All
Right?
cheers. Cheers to
Oh my
that.
God. Separation of family members within. Well, I would say yes, right? Because you like get isolated. You can't.
100%.
It's not like you can
Absolutely.
just fucking call your sibling or one of your parents or whatever when you're upset. It's like,
And that's another challenge of it is your whole, and this is another cult aspect, right? Your whole support system and the structure of your life is taken from you. So you're in this situation, you know, in mine, deciding, do I like anyone? Am I in love? Do I want to propose? Do I like them? If all of that happens, you don't even see them. And then it's like, do I like them? Am I attracted to them when I see them? Is love blind? All of this crazy stuff. And I'm not talking to my friends. I'm not talking to my family. I'm not talking to my therapist. Now, they did say if at any point you want to talk to your therapist, that's someone that they can put you on the phone with. I did not take that opportunity while we were in the pods. I didn't really feel like I needed it. But when you look back, it's a pressure cooker and you don't have any of your support system.
yeah. I feel like, and you know, I say this as not having been in the situation, but I feel like I would have been like, can I get my therapist on the phone like constantly
Like
to the
on
point?
set, maybe.
Or yeah, could she just come stay in the? You guys like lived in a, and that's another thing. You're isolated from anybody but your fellow cast members, right?
Yeah,
You live
but
in the same.
that's a set. We all stayed in hotels and we weren't allowed to like leave those rooms. And if we didn't get keys, we didn't have a wallet, we didn't have
You're
access
blowing
to
my
the
fucking
internet.
mind.
I know. It's false imprisonment. It's basically false imprisonment. And if you leave, they threaten you with like trouble and then the $50,000 fine. It's crazy when I talk about it now. And I'm like, so like, I can't believe I let this happen to me because I'm like, it's impossible to know until you go through it. And that's what I tell people now. It's like, you don't know what you're signing up for. It's impossible to go through the isolation. It's impossible to go through the not having access. Like they slowly strip away your identity, your IDs, your passport, your wallet, and then you're put in a hotel room without a key and you're not allowed to leave. Because if you leave and you get locked out, you got to go ask a wrangler for a key and then you're in trouble and you don't have a phone. So if you do have a phone, but it doesn't dial out. So if you want to dial anybody, you got to dial down to the wrangler. You can't even call the front desk. So they are in control of everything and you don't have any support system whatsoever. And then what are you going to do? Leave? Like I'm leaving. No ID, no food, no water, no money, no credit cards.
I'm
What
like
am I going to
getting
do?
anxiety while
I
you're
know.
talking about this.
And one of my mental health tools is going on walks. Like that's how a big part of how I regulate. And I couldn't do that. I would literally pace my room while we were trapped in there for days, not able to leave. And then when you're filming, you're there 18 to 20 hours a day and you go back to your hotel for a few hours.
And
Wild.
that's what's wild is too, is like, you know, I think I'm so passionate about talking to people who leave kind of coercive and controlling cult like situations. Because you know, I think that um a lot of people go through like the exact same thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like finding these through lines of like, oh, locking you in a fucking room with no key, that's funny. Like they do that in say Scientology a lot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know that like I definitely read a book about sex trafficking once where they did that. Yeah. So not yeah, that's I'm
It's
actually just
pretty
kind of
crazy.
like fucking mind and people don't understand when I'm sure you run into this a lot when people get out of these situations. Everybody's like, "Oh, you fucking signed up for that, right?"
Oh God. Yeah. I don't. You know, the thing that for those people, I've kind of taken a different approach to it now because I get it all the time. You literally signed up for it. It's like you literally can't think at all. And the problem with that is that's okay. So that's the unhealed me when I'm sarcastic like that to these people.
Hey, that's okay. We can be
I
unhealed
think
sometimes.
yeah, exactly. I'm very sarcastic and I can zing people pretty easily. But the thing is even if you read the contract, you sign up for like mentally and emotionally and physically, you've never done it. So you actually don't know what you're going to feel like, how your body's going to react, how your mind's going to react. in these crazy situations. So if it's someone who's saying, well, you signed up for it, and they have this mentality about them that's like, you can change my mind, this is just my perception, tell me why I'm wrong. I love talking to those people, right? Because I think that they actually just don't know, and it's an opportunity to help them understand. The people that just want to keep saying that over and over without critically thinking or anything like that, like, I don't even want to talk to them anymore, because they're just there to project whatever bullshit they have onto other people that were on reality TV, because they don't want to look inward. And those people, until they want to look inward, aren't really worth having a conversation with about that.
I mean, I absolutely watched reality TV when I was like watching it religiously. 90 Day Fiance was my big one. And I'm just thinking, oh my God, like a lot of these people, they're in a different country and they're dealing with that you just described, right? Passports taken. You're fucking, but you're in somewhere like a different fucking country. Like, that is wild.
Yeah, we were in Mexico, and we got our passports at the airport. And as soon as we got through security, they took them back. And we went to a resort for filming, but we were in some random ass hotel in the middle of Mexico, like without IDs, without money, in a hotel for 2 or 3 days before we went to start filming again. Imagine that.
Yeah, no.
A foreign country without any of that. And that's true about 90 Day, obviously. And I had Stephanie Davidson on my podcast from 90 Day Fiance, and her stories about what happened to her overseas, getting attacked by bugs, having allergic reactions, having to film. It's an incredible thing to just do this to people. It's all for other people's entertainment. I literally compared this so I've been talking about this. This has really all been bothering me a lot lately. And I think it's partially because I'm hearing so many more stories from so many different people. I've talked to probably over 100 cast members at this point from different shows. And the part is it's like, it feels like the Gladiator games, where we're taking our own, putting them in front of everybody, watching them rip each other apart, and then we rip them apart. And we're all entertained by it. It's so crazy how we watch one another, and we're manufacturing these insane scenarios, just like they did in the Gladiator games. We're manufacturing these insane scenarios, and we're having our fellow human beings watch, cheer, boo, verbally abuse, scream profanities at. And instead of doing it at the Coliseum, we're just doing it on social media.
My partner and I have recently started rewatching the Hunger Games series in preparation to go see the new one. And we both agreed that if the Hunger Games became a thing tomorrow, 100,000 fucking %, that would be the #1 show on TV. And a lot of people would have no fucking problem with it. If that just became legal to like have the gladiators again or whatever, like that, then it would happen and people would be tuning the fuck in. It's wild.
Well, and you think about like how divided the country is, and here's my political hand now, how divided the country is on everything right now. It's not that far-fetched. I mean, I can't believe how polarizing of a person I became when I started a nonprofit to help people. Like, that's how insane things are.
Oh,
It's wild. So that's what I have a hard time with, where I'm like, I tell my therapist, I'm like, it kind of keeps me up at night when I'm sitting here and I'm like, how are human beings that are no different than me, and I'm no different than, so cruel to each other? And so like cheering it on. And to circle back to the beginning, like, I don't think that we should not have reality TV. I just think that we should do minor adjustments and some big adjustments to how we produce them, so that it doesn't violate labor laws. Your human rights aren't stripped of you. You don't leave this thing a complete shell of a person, and then you don't be subject to public ridicule, which are all things they put in the contract they can do to you. And then the other piece is like, just we have a petition right now on moveon.org/reality, which is we're actually working with several organizations on this to just put a simple disclaimer at the beginning of every episode, reminding people that these events are manufactured, that this is highly edited, and it's for entertainment only.
People
Because
don't know that though. Like
I
not even
know,
me, I'm like,
I
I think
know.
this is all very much happening exactly as I'm watching it. And ever and I'm like, I don't know. I like to think I'm pretty intelligent. And people are like, Ashley, no. And I'm like, but why would they lie? Which is very naive of me. But I just feel like it's like you said, there is already going to be drama. People are fucking cuckoo. That's just like how it is. You don't need to like make that happen.
Yeah.
Um,
And you think about like a situation like Love is Blind, where here's the thing. Like, I think that the concept can work. Like, I do really believe that you can fall in love with someone just by talking to them, and maybe not. Like, obviously I was very attracted to Danielle, so that it wasn't an issue for us, and vice versa, I believe. So that wasn't an issue, and I can imagine that being an issue in some situations, right? You got to be physically attracted to someone, but this whole concept, I think there's like some validity to it. But when you break people down to like this unhealed, damaged version of themselves, and then you expect them to like get married and then just go take the world by storm, it's just not a recipe for success. And that's where I kind of like, I'm like, we can have this. And when you take 15 men and 15 women in this type of concept, there's going to be personality clashes. There's going to be love triangles. You don't need to manufacture them. They're going to happen organically just
yeah.
because of the emotions involved.
Like, have you ever worked at a restaurant? I mean, that's
Grocery stores,
that's a
not a restaurant, but grocery store, which is all sorts of crazy personalities. There's a reality show for you. Videotape the people working at your
grocery
local
store.
grocery store. The
Wow, I
drama
would
between
not
the
have
deli
thought.
and the meat department and the front end and the stocking people and the liquor department. I mean, it's and the floral department, and it's just everybody. It's like tribal. It's very strange. And then of course there's drama within each of the departments, but they all kind of have drama with each other too.
Oh my god, I would love to see this as a reality show. Just leave it. Yeah, that's the thing. I think just like you don't have to like manufacture it so much. Really quick so we can get this off the screen
Yeah,
and get both of
sorry.
our faces on here. Let's go through this real quick and then we can talk about other things we want. Leader is all knowing. We're going to call leader producers and give it a yes, huh?
They kind of bring in hold on. The heck is that?
Where?
Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Something weird happened.
Oh.
So the leader is all knowing, and if it, depending on how you look at it, like the creator of the show, yes, the producers, yes, they're like the only person you can talk to, and they give you advice. So I think so.
Yeah. Sleep
Sleep
deprivation, we have already
Yes.
talked about.
We're gonna get a bingo right off the bat.
Yeah,
here.
so I'm not even gonna tap this one because I don't want to. It'll end the game. So we got one bingo. Let's see how many we can get. Dehumanizing punishments. Well, just what you described as far as like being fucking locked in a room by yourself with no key sounds very dehumanizing to me.
I just heard this person I talked to earlier was threatened with a bad edit, like on set. Threatened with a bad edit because he asked for something that he had said to not be included. It's wild. It's It wasn't even that
is
bad.
so fucked up.
Yeah.
What?
And I know I'm not gonna say who, but I know people from my season that were threatened with bad edits too.
Dude, that would be a very effective tool because they'd be like, oh, bad edit. And then I would think about the times that I was like, if that bitch doesn't stop flirting with my man, I'm gonna fucking murder her. Like, and then I would be like, okay, no, I'll play ball because I can't even imagine. I'm an emotional person, and sometimes I verbally express it in ways that, are intense that I would never.
Oh, totally.
That I would never actually do, but it's like, whoa.
You put it out there. Sometimes you just got to put it out there.
Yeah. And okay. Colt ruined a popular brand. No, I wouldn't say that. Pedophilia. God.
Well, have they released Epstein's list yet? I mean, who knows?
Toddlers and tiaras.
Oh.
Yep. 100%. I actually felt like I had to bleach my soul after I watched a season of that. I was like, ew, like I felt gross and dirty. I was like,
people talk about they're in like makeup, right? like putting these kids in
There's
makeup and
like
stuff.
2-year-olds who are getting fake teeth, fucking spray tanned. They're giving them pixie sticks and Red Bull for it's
I
like
did hear about the Red Bull too.
they're abusing. It's absolutely televised child abuse. And then there's all these guys at the contest that are like, and you're like, who's your kid, buddy? Who the fuck are you here to watch? They're like,
Yeah. It's like that guy
everybody.
didn't come with a kid.
Yeah, yeah, it's gross. Vulnerable groups of people. Well, you said they use the mental health evaluation as a casting
And
tool,
yeah,
right?
and I think just from a broader range, the way that it's kind of designed to attract a certain type of personality too. It's a vulnerable group of people that maybe will give up their jobs and stuff like, or don't have jobs or lost their job. All sorts of stuff like that's involved in the casting.
I remember it was a long time ago. It was a season of The Bachelor. They were on a group date and they were at this like zombie hunting game or something. And this woman legitimately like had a mental break. She was talking to the actors like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna fucking kill you, like this is real. Like she thought that they were in a real situation, and they just like filmed this as entertainment. And I was like a lot younger and less emotionally like mature, and
Mhm.
I was like, this is fucked, dude. Like
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about mental health, but this woman is very clearly not okay and should not be being filmed right now. She should be 5150'd.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the that's the exploitative part, right? Where it's like you're taking someone who is clearly in a mental breakdown or mental health challenge of some sort, and instead of getting them help, you're turning it into entertainment for people.
Well, like Danielle, she said that she had a
Mhm.
panic attack and they were like, great, let's do a quick interview. When I
Yeah.
have a panic attack, like, and I really felt that because I have panic attacks too. And when she said she locked herself in the closet and cried, I was thinking about if I was in a fucking foreign country, like in this pressure cooker situation. And for me, panic attacks are very physical. So I'm just thinking of like if I'm sitting there and like my mind and body are racing and they're like,
Mhm.
great, why don't you mic up real quick? I'd be like, hey, why don't you go fuck yourself? Can somebody get me a blanket and some Christmas lights? This is
Good for you.
insane. Like,
Yeah, it's and you
ugh,
know the way she had described it too, and I actually had, I don't know if it was a panic attack or anxiety attack. I had one about a year ago actually, my first one ever, and I couldn't even like I was outside, I couldn't even move. I had to like sit down on a stoop, and
yeah.
it was so I can't imagine like what that was like, and it's not something I would imagine that she just felt great with once it was over. It's something that lingers, right?
No, yeah. And I mean, I could definitely see like that Danielle is like a sensitive person and that she has anxiety and stuff. And it's like the way that they edit it, it would like make a lot of very insensitive people be like, wow, this girl's like really tripping. She should
Oh
like
yeah, she got
calm
so much
like she should calm the
negativity.
fuck down. She's being wild. Like that wasn't my thoughts because I understood. Like I actually watched the interview with you guys before I went and watched your season. So
Hmm.
you're welcome. I watched a lot of hours of reality television for you, Nick.
And you did it in a couple
Television.
of days.
Yeah, real quick.
'Cause this came together pretty quickly.
Yeah, which is awesome because sometimes this takes me forever. Want to be rock star? I'm gonna say a lot of people do get on these shows to get
Clout.
clout, right?
Not
Mm,
literal rock star, but like
yeah,
clout.
no,
Yeah,
it's these
okay.
are they're loose terms. Justification of anything
Yeah.
leader producer deems necessary. That's a big ol' yes. Sex with leader for spiritual growth. I can't think of any shows that do that.
I don't either. I think that might actually be one that we can skip. How about that?
Oh wow, we got one. Multiple groups in different locations. Yes.
Yep.
Compounds left and right.
Well, and
Members.
they literally filmed some of these shows back to back now, so it's like literally the next season's being filmed on a few week delay from you.
Wow.
Yeah.
What how do they feel about kids actually? Do you know? Is that something they can take into consideration when casting with
Ye
like small kids?
Yeah, they do. And I know a couple people on shows that I've talked to have had kids, and that was another control mechanism that they would use, like not letting you talk to your kid until you said what they wanted you to say or finished. I mean, I'm telling you, this
You
stuff is
are blowing my
horrible.
fucking mind.
Yeah. Well, there's no rules or laws. Like they label you a contractor, and then you're basically not allowed any labor rights or human rights, and you sign away in these, seemingly illegal contracts your basic human rights. It's wild.
Well, and like you said, penalty for leaving. It's like you're fucking. And somebody actually said, I believe it was Brendan, said taking away passports is a sign of human trafficking, which is correct.
I'm not allowed to say that, but I do
Okay.
agree that is human trafficking when you take away somebody's passport and you move them from place to place.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't. I think
So
that's generally kind of frowned
I'm
upon.
not saying
Yeah,
that
I
that's
didn't
what
say
happened to
that.
me. I'm just saying that is human trafficking, and I did have to give up my passport
Right,
to
but
move from locations.
I'm not really, allegedly, right?
Allegedly. I believe.
Those who are bad, those who leave are bad or evil for sure, right? The
Oh.
public is like, they
They
fucking bailed.
yeah. They threaten you with the 50K in my situation. They also threaten you with bad edits like we talked about. It's horrible.
So it's like we can ruin you financially and just your like emotional and personal and professional life. We can fuck you if you don't
Mhm.
do what we say. That is
I
really
just
scary.
I just had Olivia from Married at First Sight in Australia on my podcast last week, and she was going to school to be a teacher, and because of how they edited her, she had to stop being a teacher
Oh my
because
god.
people didn't want her around their kids. So like it's yeah,
That
if
is
you get
wow.
it's just horrible. It's just horrible.
We know that occasionally, stuff comes out about whoever
Yeah,
cast
eyes
members,
wide
whatever.
open.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, hello, hi, Ashley. Special title for leader is probably just like producer, right? Or
Yeah,
something.
I don't know about that one. It would be there was something like the creator of the show, like there was an aura about him that it was like a big deal when he came to talk to you or something, but I don't know if it
Stop
was really a
it.
title.
That's weird. That's
Yeah.
weird. though.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
I remember like
weird.
before the show came out, like the week before, like Danielle and I were gifted with a Zoom call from him. It was the weirdest freaking thing. It was so weird.
What the fuck, bro? Oh my
It was so
god.
weird.
Okay,
It's
I
like
don't
he
know.
wants to talk to you guys before the show airs. And it's like, oh
I'm
my
gonna say
goodness, let me
special
drop
title for
everything.
leader, whatever. I'm gonna give it to us because it's still just like this weird reverence for somebody who doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Matching clothes and or hair. I mean, we know that definitely happens. Squid Games, right? The real
I was gonna
Squid
say, I'm sure
Games.
it does in some in competitions and stuff. You gotta
Yeah.
wear your uniform. Yeah.
Well, Squid Games is a competition now that again people
Oh
are
yeah.
suing
I
Netflix for
mean,
because
Jesus.
they were I, okay. But
Did you watch
listen,
Black Mirror, by the way?
yeah, I fucking love that
Okay.
show.
Joan is Awful was literally like that was the first episode of the last season that just came out a few months ago. That episode, I'm like, okay, so Netflix knows. They're like trolling us. It was the most meta thing in the world about the woman would like something would happen in her day, and then she would turn on their version of Netflix, which had the same logo, different letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it would be the same sound. And then she would be watching like an edited, over dramatized version of her life with Selma Hayek playing her on the TV. And I remember watching this, and I'm like, they know, and they're trolling us. They know that they do this. And
Oh
now they
my
have a Black
god.
Mirror episode about it. And again, it's like something normal, little bit of drama gets escalated on the Selma Hayek version. It's
That's
telling
so
you, it's
interesting.
weird.
That's also
What?
one of those things where they're doing it right in front of your face and they're
Right
like
in front of your face.
you don't even know because you're like, do I smell a Big Mac? It was actually really funny. This comedian that I used to like that I don't now because he's a sexist asshole, Bill Burr,
Oh.
whatever. I'll fucking call it out.
Ooh.
Ugh.
I used to like Bill Burr
Oh my
too.
God, dude, I saw him on my birthday once. Like, I loved
Hmm.
him. And then he did Paper Tiger on Netflix and basically was like, "What's up with the Me Too movement?" Right. And I was like, wow, you can go fuck yourself forever, you piece of shit.
I remember watching that. I didn't even finish it.
Oh, no, I couldn't. I got like 15 minutes in and was like, oh,
Yeah.
you have you've always been an asshole, but in a funny way. And now you're just really gross. Cut off ties from other family members. And oh, shit, I didn't even mean to
Oh,
get
you did it.
bingo. But
Well,
yoga
we
changed.
almost did the coverall here.
We almost got the whole thing. Like yoga, I'd say they're doing it on Survivor or something, right? Or
I did a little yoga for the cameras
why? Great. Why?
because they wanted a montage of the guys working out, and I was like, I'm a yogi, so I was like, I'm gonna
They're
do
like,
that.
you do push-ups. Great.
Yeah, I could use the stretch. You guys lift weights, you do the yoga. Yeah.
Was there any like changed names? Nicknames or anything?
So people came in with some nicknames, but I don't know if they got them there.
Okay. Can anybody
Not
in the chat think of any reality shows where like nicknames are or people have to change their names in some kind of way? Wait. Okay, I just watched The Garden, Coulter Commune, which is absolutely not a
Wait, what's
fucking
that?
bro, it is not a documentary. Let me tell you that much. It is hot, delicious garbage, and it's terrible. It's a reality show that they present as a docu-series, and it's about this like commune, and they're like, is it a commune or is it a cult? And then these people come
I
in to
did
like,
hear about
oh
that.
my God, you gotta watch it, and then we could talk about it.
Okay.
It's
I'll watch that.
I actually have been in touch with a few of the people from the show, and I'm like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Well, what do you want to ask? We'll have to ask Discovery." And I was like, "Discovery's not going to let me ask shit."
I know.
So I
No
guess you
one
could tell me about your fucking off-grid composting, but
Yeah. That's the interesting thing is like people, you're bound by these contracts. They own you. They just own you.
Oh
I
yeah.
think mine was for like the first year, I couldn't do any interviews without their permission. And for work, I was a marketing executive. And so I was like doing, marketing podcasts about our software, interviews in the media, all of that stuff, talking to customers, all of that stuff. And I had to have the contract amended to say that I could do public speaking and stuff for work, because otherwise like they own you. You can't go anywhere. Like I wouldn't be able to do this podcast without their permission for the first year.
I mean, about anything. You could be
Yeah.
talking about dog training, and they'd be like, "We don't like that for the image."
Yeah. Exactly. And I got invited to go on like a news show on YouTube right away after, because they found out that I had already followed them and asked me if I wanted to come on and talk about like my politics basically. And I had to get permission to do that, even though it's not even related whatsoever to the show.
Like they literally do own you. And
Yeah.
actually, I just have to mention this free sex square because I was cracking up when you said that your dad was like, "What is this? An orgy?" Your dad thought it was like an orgy show.
Yeah, one of those bachelor orgy shows was exactly what he said.
What are you dating the same girl as 10 other guys? Like that's probably
Well,
what he kind of heard, right?
I definitely threw the other guys under the bus to be like, no, like we liked each other right away. There was no one else involved. Everyone else had their triangles, and it's like, that wasn't me.
No orgies for me, Dad. I swear. I was good. Well, I mean, I think we like absolutely 1,000% very much so definitively just proved that reality TV is culty and coercive. Like more than once over, twice over. So the thing is, every time I actually let me just now I'm like, wait, shit, you should have stopped. So what's pretty cool is every time you play, it's a different board.
Oh,
So here
look
now
at
it's like we
that.
got control over diet, death, doomsday, physical abuse, charismatic leader. Like we could have fucking nailed it on this one too, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
So yeah, you guys, if you pardon me. If you think you might be in a cult, play Cult Bingo at tsfuthepodcast.com, and it's a pretty useful tool. Hey, so we have had some really great comments and questions that I thought
Let's
maybe we
take them.
could we could check out here. So we've got Alex asking, what were the rules on So this is like an inside joke from our Discord, which you should join, Nick. It's really fun. We talk about Crocs like a lot, the shoes. It's just a very divisive topic.
It is.
What do you think about Crocs?
So, ironically enough, it's very weird that I'm not wearing them right now because I wear them around my house as slippers. I would never wear them in public, but I wear
Okay.
them around my house and I wear them like at my desk and stuff like that. But today I'm wearing like actual shoes right now.
You're like, it's a private thing. My
Yes.
relationship with Crocs is private.
And you want to know who got me on Crocs actually to try them was Kyle from my season. He wore them and swears by them. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to get a pair.
You're like, what is on your feet? He's like,
Yeah. I'm like, dude, it's not the 90s
you
anymore.
don't even know. Are they actually real weddings, or is it officiated, made legal off camera?
Great question. Like some of the shows in other countries, they have laws in place that you can't actually get married. Here for this specific show, we did go and we had to go to the courthouse and do it before the wedding. So we signed the paperwork, and then you're there, and it's the officiant officer. What are they called? The priests? I don't even know. Like,
sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. Whoever's doing the ceremony,
that person.
Yeah. Depending on if you both say I do, like signs it there. After that to make it legally official, and then they file it. You don't even get to you sign it, you hand it to your producer at the courthouse, and then you don't see it again. There was a moment where we were like, are we even really married? And we actually went to look it up because we had no proof of the certificate or anything. So we actually went and looked it up, and I think Danielle paid to find to get a copy of it or something. It was very weird. That's what it was. They had emailed us asking if we had it at one point. That's what it was. Asking if we had the marriage certificate. We're like, no, you didn't even let us touch it after we signed it.
You have that in a fucking file somewhere. What if you didn't want to get married though? What if you guys were like, hey, we are just getting to know each other, and I always wondered about that on these shows where the expectation at the end is to get engaged. What if people are like, it doesn't really feel like the right move for us right now? Are they really pressured into? Did you feel pressure?
So we could do this on its own whole episode. We could talk about how this works. So you're contractually bound in this show to go to the altar if you get engaged. So you could, and if you go and you do some Google searches, you'll find that there's lawsuits about false imprisonment, and there's been sexual assault, all sorts of stuff of people wanting to leave but not being able to because they're contractually bound to go to the altar. Okay, so there's all sorts of
oh my god,
yeah, and it's pretty brutal stuff like that. There's a lot of pressure from the producers all around. I was very clear that because we weren't sure until a little bit before the wedding which way we were going to go. We kind of both went back and forth, Danielle and I. And then I told them, and I told her too, because at some point you're not allowed to talk to each other anymore on that day. And I had told her, I'm like, I don't want any pressure, because if they pressure me, I'm just going to dig my feet in harder and harder. That's just my personality. So I told them, no, do not pressure me. Do not ask me what I'm thinking. Do not do any of that, because you're not going to get anything, and you're just going to frustrate me more, because this is a very big decision. And I'll dig my feet in harder and harder. And I can't imagine, and I've heard stories, right? I've heard lots of stories from other people and seen what happened to some people on my cast, but it's a very pressured environment. I had an anonymous source let me know a while ago that our producer was possibly incentivized to get a yes out of us. So you think about those things. And again, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I heard it from someone who was in the know. And you hear stuff like that and you're just like, what are we doing? What's the purpose of this? Are we actually trying but a show like this needs success stories, right? Look at what happened with this last season. Everybody hated it for the most part, and it's because it was a shit show. So they need success stories. So I understand like the pressure from there, even though I don't agree with that being a good reason to pressure.
Well, the funny thing is I feel like they would have more success stories if they let things develop more naturally and said, "Hey, why don't you
100%.
crazy kids date for, I don't know, a few months even?" Whoa, whoa, a few months without us up your ass every 10 seconds.
Well,
And
and
just see how that goes. I bet a lot more relationships would fare better.
totally. Well, and imagine this too, like, and I mean, God, I'll talk to you offline about what I think about some of these things, but I can't say them here. But the whole thing with these shows and like forcing people to get married as the outcome, right? Like that's a legally binding thing. And if you look at some of the financial situations that people get into, like you've got someone who has more money than someone else, someone who owns a place doesn't, someone who has student debt, someone that doesn't. Like we've seen all of these things play out on various shows, and those types of things, can you actually live together? Like that's such a big thing. And anyone who's been in a serious relationship and has lived with someone, like that's an adjustment when you're in the most love you could ever be in with someone. And all of these things just don't get taken into consideration. And then you're legally bound, right, into this marriage, and then divorce or separate or whatever. And you've got to deal with the legal ramifications, the cost, all of that stuff. Why can't a show like this, when you're dating 15 people, right, and you're narrowing that down as time goes on, but why
Hey,
can't
whoa, this isn't an orgy. Calm down.
yeah, right.
Hey,
Right.
calm
Well,
down, Nick.
I learned at Thanksgiving that my dad now listens to podcasts that I'm on and my podcast, so he might be listening. Who knows?
Hey, Dad.
I don't know who taught him how to do that, but I
How'd
find that
you
out.
learn that out, Dad?
Yeah. He's like, I listen to
That's
some of your
amazing.
podcasts. I don't agree with everything that you say and think, but
You're like, yeah, naturally.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
But like with Love is Blind, like why can't it be, oh, I'm asking you to be exclusive, and if you become exclusive with someone, you get to see them, and then maybe the end, instead of forcing people to decide on whether they want to get married, maybe they can decide on if they want to get engaged, and then
Yeah.
that doesn't have the same ramifications legally, financially, morally, ethically, all of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this extreme and this permanent and this damaging, and like getting divorced ain't cheap, and they have weird clauses and stuff of they'll pay for it if it's in the first year or whatever. It's just crazy, but then you're like
And I
legally
mean,
not allowed,
emotionally, they say that
right?
divorce is one of the most stressful things you can go through in life.
Yep.
And that's after, and that's also while you're doing it publicly, while everybody's like, fuck you, Nick. You didn't. Who was that girl in the picture on the carousel, you dick? Like,
Seriously though.
you were telling me, is it okay if I repeat that
Yeah,
story? Like,
yeah.
you had a friend visiting and you put up a picture and lost 20,000 followers because people assumed you were dating, and then they started hate messaging her and they started a fucking Reddit just to figure it out. Like, that would freak me out if I was the object of people's obsession in that way. What's up, you guys? You're free to be like a little bit obsessed, but don't be
Yeah.
mean about it, at least.
Yeah, don't, if you find yourself trying to be mean to someone on the internet, I would just stop and be like, what's causing me to feel this way? Because you'll probably find it's something that you've been through or that you're feeling that you want to project onto somebody else, and you probably will do better just thinking about how it's making you feel instead of putting that out there. Just
Words of the wise. Look, I don't go like actively trolling, but when somebody it's usually it's like if somebody says something fucked up to somebody that I care about, like
mm,
a friend of mine, Meg Applegate, she's the founder of Unsilenced, and they are a nonprofit organization that is spreading awareness about the troubled teen industry. Do you know about that?
oh, I have
Paris
not heard of
Hilton.
that, but yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, so for a lot of people, the easiest like reference is Paris Hilton, she went to like 4 of these. It's wilderness therapy and boarding schools. And it's basically, I call it the tortured teen industry because it's like reality TV. There's no fucking regulations whatsoever.
So
I mean, it's
crazy.
worse. It's literally worse than prison because like at least in prison, there's regulations, but on reality TV and in the troubled teen industry, and that could mean that your fucking kid has depression. They're troubled. So you send them to get fucking tortured. It's
Which is
insanity.
It's like an archaic. It's like boarding school, right? Your kid gets in trouble at school, and now you're sending them to boarding school or
but they
private.
like call it boarding school, but then they just torture the kids.
Right. It's so archaic.
Yeah. And so I have like seen people be like mean on her Instagram to be like, oh, like one time she did a joke video about, I guess there was some viral video about some girl saying that it's weird, but she hates store-bought pesto. And then like
I do too, actually.
Meg did like a stitch and she goes, oh, I know, store-bought pesto, right? That's the worst. It's kind of like that time when I was a teenager and I got kidnapped in the middle of the night by a few really big men. And my parents said, we're not abandoning you. And I was like, really? And like people on there were wild. They were like, oh my God, get over it. Somebody actually, because then I was like, you're a worthless piece of human garbage. I will like just wreck people if I think that if I think that they're like being shitty, it's terrible. Yeah. And then
I do that too sometimes.
They told me that they wished I got kidnapped instead. That was chill. And then I got my flag, and then I got flagged for being a bully and a harasser. And I was like, maybe I did tell them that they were like a worthless human garbage piece of whatever. But like, he's over here telling my friend to get over being fucking kidnapped and telling me that he wished I got kidnapped. But apparently, because Meg doesn't like, she's above me and she doesn't like let that stuff get to her. And he messaged her later because she did not attack him like I did. And he said, hey, it was really weird. Like he didn't want to admit that he was like maybe somewhat of a decent person. He's like, I never usually fucking say nice shit, but I do want to say that like I am sorry that happened to you. But like he DM'd her to say that because he didn't want the world to see that like
that he was apologizing. Well, I wouldn't call that an apology, but
whatever.
Acknowledging maybe.
Yeah, he's like, but I am sorry that happened to you. It's like, what? Okay. Brendan says, I wonder if the control in reality was always that way or did it build up over the years?
So again, I hate to keep plugging my podcast, but I had a guest on.
No, I want to go listen. I'm like, I want to hear what's going on every fucking show now. Do you have anybody from Vanderpump Rules yet?
Not yet. Hopefully.
Make it happen, Nick.
Hopefully.
Make it happen. Okay.
Hopefully.
Sorry. Continue.
It's hard. Like it's really again, people are bound by these contracts, right?
Yeah.
So people I talk to privately and share his stuff. There's an open invitation to anyone that wants to come on to my podcast and share their story. But I also don't pressure people or want to pressure people because, you know, in addition to the trauma that they go through and going through it in the public eye, then they've got the thumb of these big production companies and networks on them as well. It's like, I get it. And I want people to feel safe and comfortable and not pressured or talking about something publicly they're not comfortable talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're just like, man, I gotta really commend you for deciding to speak out because obviously, like Brendan is saying, like, has it always been like this? Like the public has no fucking idea because most people don't want to say anything because they are bound by the contracts and they can't afford to get fucking slapped with a $50,000 fine.
Oh, and if you go against
can't afford a $500 fine. Like,
I can't either. And if you do go against the edit, or you do something like that breaks the NDA, it's $1 million on my show, $1 million per time.
Wait, so can you talk about how you're like getting around this or?
I mean, I'm just in. So let me answer Brendan's question.
Okay.
Brendan, it
Yeah.
has always been like this. I actually talked to someone who started an aftercare not for profit in like the 1990s to help people with talk shows, because they would bring people on talk shows and they would like blindside them with paternity tests and exes and all of this stuff, and they had no idea what they were getting into and just
Jerry?
trash their mental health. I don't know which ones for sure, but it was in that boom
Whoa.
of those.
Whoa.
So even that, and then America's Next Top Model. I've talked to several cast members over the years, back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s when that was going on. Same stuff. So it has always been incredibly controlling and manipulative, and I do feel like it escalates now because they want to escalate the drama, because once you've seen it, it's just got to be bigger and badder. It's just a horrible cycle.
Well, that's why I
But
think that the Hunger Games would be super popular, because people are just
totally.
like, they're bloodthirsty and they're ready for more, which is like why you say the producers keep escalating, because people need more shock value. Think
Yeah.
about this. Have you heard of the Terrifier movies?
Yeah, yeah, they're on like Shutter or something,
No,
right?
they're in theaters. The the
Oh.
the third one, like nobody in Hollywood will make it because they focus on making, I don't remember what it's called, but they try to make the special effects look as real as
Oh,
possible.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like very, very close up, intense fucking torture, like,
Yeah.
and mutilation and shit. And I'm like appalled, because to me it's just like, why would you want to watch that? Like, what blows my mind is this shit is so fucking popular, dude. There are so many people that are like, this is the best fucking horror to come out in decades, and like so many people are like, it's amazing. It's like, so like you watching what looks like very much real genital mutilation and
Oh my
torture,
God.
and like it said, like it, like literally, like it's scenes of women being brutally sexually tortured for like minutes on end, and people are like, this shit is what the fuck is up, and it scares the fuck out of me about society. Like, yeah, I just had to take a deep breath, because like it's
Yeah,
terrifying.
I didn't hear like that level of detail, and I love scary movies. I don't
Oh, me too.
necessarily like the gore. I think I can take it or leave it. I like I like Scream. Like I think that's
Oh, I love
probably,
Scream.
or Saw. Like the Saws got kind of crazy, but like initially I enjoyed them, but I'm not enjoying the torture porn of it. I'm more enjoying like the plots and the who done it of it,
No, the
and I could take
Terrifier
or
is,
leave.
there's no fucking plot. There's
Yeah.
no plot. It's just hours of torture porn, like the
Yeah, that's
gnarliest that you've ever
weird.
heard of.
That's so
And
weird.
a good solid chunk of society is like, fuck yeah. Give us a
Ugh.
third, bring a fourth. It's like it. Let's get back to some
Let's
questions.
go.
Um, Sophia says it's kind of a miracle that you don't have more mental breakdowns or violence. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there's more mental breakdowns than we think. I think I think there's I think everyone kind of has, depending on your situation. I think everybody takes a hit from it, at least mentally, and I think there's more breakdowns. And I think the breakdowns, they may not always happen at the beginning either. Like mine didn't happen until about a year ago. That was when I was like, oh my God, I'm at rock bottom. Like I
It
don't
like
have
it was delayed.
anything to show. Yeah. Well, it was delayed because you're in a pressure cooker. And then when you're finally out of it, and I like made the decision, I'm not going to be in the public eye anymore. I'm not doing any interviews. I'm going to just do my podcast. I'm not going to go on any podcast unless it's someone who was a guest on my, I like had these concrete things I wasn't going to do. And, turning down, or people or those type of interviews, just wanting to catch up and see how things are going. It's like, well, things fucking suck. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to say that to put that in front of the whole world to see while I'm sitting here, like, trying to put my life back together.
Yeah. I God, I can't imagine. Like literally, because I'm working on it, but I'm not a bedrock of mental stability. And I just cannot
No one
imagine
is.
how I would fucking look here. Brendan, that sounds like victim blaming, who would know what it really
What it
is.
really was.
Well, the victim blaming is like, yeah, I think he's referring to the you signed up for it. And that's like every fucking
Oh yeah,
person who
totally.
leaves the
Yeah.
cult. It's like, well, you signed up for that self-help class. You signed up for that meditation retreat. You went to that fucking Bible study. It's like, yeah, but nobody
There,
went to the Bible study or the meditation retreat knowing that they would like end up in a fucking like brainwashed coercive situation for years.
well, and that's what I say too, like on the reality TV front, because I do agree it is victim blaming. Like, what did I sign up for? I signed up for what was sold to me, and that was a psychological love experience. No, let me try that
Experiment.
again. A psychological love experiment. And I thought maybe that would work because I felt like dating sucked. And dating sucked because everybody had a million endless opportunities on apps. Nobody took time to get to know each other. And this like really addressed a lot of those. And so, and even on the apps and stuff, like you're attracted to someone or you're not physically, so you like or you dislike, right? So I thought like the concept was there, but what I didn't sign up for was to be, like completely just stripped of my autonomy, stripped of my, ability to eat and drink when I want to eat and drink, or go outside when I want to go outside, or go to the bathroom when I want to go to the bathroom. Like you don't, even if they tell you that, like, you ever had to just pee really, really bad and there's no bathroom or anywhere for you to go? Like,
Yeah, like all the time. I have a tiny bladder. It's the
yeah,
fucking
me
worst.
too. Yeah. So it is victim blaming. And I think a lot of people do that because they think they would have handled it different, or they could handle it, or they would be a really good, reality TV personality. And I think that they just kind of, some people can't triangulate around that. But like, you don't sign up to be exploited, and you can't sign away your basic human rights and the rules and laws of the society that we've decided we're going to live within, just because you sign a contract.
And actually, speaking of, going back to the bingo and vulnerable groups, like it is a very vulnerable thing looking for love and looking for partnership. And I am so fucking glad that I somehow met my boyfriend in my house in my sweatpants. Like I got very lucky because I was single for the majority of my 20s and early 30s because like I just couldn't do the dating apps. It was too overwhelming. Like the thought of going on dates
Oh
was just
God.
like I was like, I can't.
Is there
I
ever one you don't think about canceling the whole day before? I mean, I haven't been on a dating app
Oh
in
my
like
god.
4 years or something, but I'm like, man, every single time I was like, "God, do I really want to do
Do I
this?"
I have a friend who for 4 years has been going on about 3 a week, not because he fucking likes it. He hates it, but he wants a partner. And I think
Yeah.
that says something very interesting about our society that like and hey, you know what? I was a love married at first sight fan. I was like, you know what? If they come to my city, I might throw my hat in the fucking ring. It's rough out here, you know? So I
It
totally
is
like get
though.
that draw of like, shit, should we try something else? Because this is like it seems real hard out there. Bunny hugs and mental health. Hey, new podcast coming.
Do
Do
they
they
use
love
love
bomb?
bombing?
Yeah, in casting.
I would say kind of. They definitely hype you up, right? So if that's what you mean there, then yeah, they definitely hype you up. I feel like I didn't really need a lot. I was pretty confident back then. I'm getting back to being I'm pretty confident again, but I was pretty confident in myself, and I didn't need the fluffing of feathers. I was fine, but I can see how they would try to do that and really kind of amp you up so that you feel good going into this thing.
During your happy hours on the
Virtual
producer with
happy
the
hours,
yeah,
yeah.
with the producer just be like, "Oh, man, like, Nick, that sounds really hard what you've been through,"
Yes.
just, like, super validating
Yeah.
and just like, "Man, I think, you're a great guy. You're really definitely gonna find love. I feel so good about this for you," that type of shit.
Yeah, and you know what though? Here's what I do want to say because I don't think I give her enough credit. My initial producer, who worked with me before the show and then during the pods, I actually don't. She was cool. Like I don't. I literally went to her at one point in the pods and I was like, hey, I see you're like talking to all the other, not all the other guys, but the other guys, because they each had like 3 guys, 3 girls. So you're talking to other people, you're not talking to me. And she's like, oh, you just seem like you're doing fine. Like you've got this figured out. And so I don't need to like talk to you. So she was very hands off, I would say, and not pushy. Like she was my producer on the wedding day too. And she was not pushy. And she didn't follow our story. I mean, like literally, because we got a different couples producer. So she wasn't pushy. She gave me leeway on some things I was working that day. I worked my wedding day, which is always.
I heard they also changed it from like a Saturday to a Tuesday so that you couldn't like.
Yeah, it was from a Sunday to a Tuesday.
And
yeah,
then
so a bunch of people
friends and family
come.
couldn't come. Awesome.
Yeah. My dad couldn't come. My dad couldn't get off of work. Like my dad works as an electrician in a hospital. So if he doesn't get time off in advance, he can't have it because someone's got to hook up the hospital beds. You know,
so,
it's like,
so your dad just too bad your dad misses your wedding day. See, it's like as somebody who has had some abusers in my life, I can, and I'm not claiming this for you. I just find it interesting that you feel like a little bit like, oh, I just want to kind of make a caveat that one of the producers wasn't so bad, because I feel a little bit like maybe just like a little part of your soul has to be missing to be a reality TV producer, because you go into it knowing like, I'm going to fuck with people because that's my job. I have to make the most entertaining shit for the audience. And if that means that it's at a little bit at the expense of Nick's fucking sanity, then like, that's my job.
Yeah. And I do actually I have empathy for reality TV producers, right? Because it is their job, right? You know, it's also the job of a boss at Amazon to enforce crazy Amazon labor rules that they do, and their crazy schedules and their lack of breaks and all of that stuff that you see in the news. Like, I don't blame the boss for doing what he has to do to keep his job, right?
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
I think there is something to, you have to have the moral compass to say enough is enough in some instances, right? But it's their job, and it's the system that's forcing them to be that way. And sure, it attracts certain kind of people, yada yada yada. Where's the line? I agree with that, but it is their job. And I would.
So it's so culty. Sorry, I just have to say, like, what you're saying is like, where's the line between like victim and perpetrator? You know, I was like, are they? Well,
I think they're victims
orders?
too.
Yeah,
I think they're victims too.
Wow, and just like, is it the people who enforce the rules, or is it the systems of abuse? Like, that is like cult talk 101.
Well, and imagine this: you're a reality TV producer. By the way, they're not unionized either. They're working. They probably the only people that work more than the cast, because they're on 24/7 crafting these crazy ass stories that they're trying to tell. Right. And so there's just a piece of me that like looks at them as human beings that ended up reality TV producers, have to have some sort of either lack of soul or the best compartmentalization process in their brain that's ever been developed. But I do, I try to look at systems. I try to look at situations. I try to look at intentions of people, because I do see everybody as a human being first. And I think we have built systems that are corrupt, that are unethical, that are abusive, and then that abuse trickles down, right? Just like an abusive parent might end up with an abusive kid or something like that, because we're all programmed by our surroundings, right? And then if you're just doing this day in and day out, and you don't stop and reflect on it, or you don't have the time, like I have empathy for someone like that. Now, do I think that some of them are horrible for the things they do? I think they do horrible things. I don't think that makes them a horrible person.
Okay, damn, that was like, wow, drop some knowledge like it's hot. That's we actually have Lindsay Williams.
This is a perfect follow-up.
Yeah, no, it actually really is. We have Lindsay Williams in the chat. Lindsay was on Shiny Happy People on Amazon Prime. If you guys haven't watched that, definitely make sure to. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I haven't even heard of it.
Oh my God, it's so good. So it's about speaking of reality TV, it's about the Duggars. Fucking 80 kids and counting, you know, it
Oh,
changes
geez,
every year
yeah.
because there's always more kids to fucking count. So they're like fundamentalist Christians, and they're part of this system called the IBLP, Inter Institute for Basic Life Principles. And
Okay.
Lindsay actually, we did an interview like 6 months ago or something about Christian fundamentalist influencers, and that was fascinating. And I was kind of just like, man, fuck all these people, right? Like, fuck
Right.
these dudes abusing all the women, because like the abuse of women and children in
Jeez.
fundamentalist sects is like rampant. Um, and Lindsay actually like very much made me think, because she said, well, I don't think we can always be mad at like the people, but it's the systems of abuse and like who are
I agree.
creating like these narcissistic men who are told from the time that they're a baby that like if they're the dude in the room, then they're in charge. It's like, oh, I'm 5, but I'm the only male in the room. So like, it's insane.
Oh, I
So
dealt with that growing up too. Like when my parents separated, I got this like I'm the man of the house mentality because I have two sisters of my mom, and it like totally fucks with you. It definitely fucks with you.
parentification is, I
Yeah.
think, what it's called. It's like, yeah,
Oh
when you
wow.
have to parent yourself or your siblings at a young age, like it really fucks with you. Actually, it's like
And
a
even if you
source of
don't have
trauma,
to, if you take that on, like
right?
I
Just
was 5
because,
years old taking that on, like no one told me. I mean, maybe my mom said you're the man of the house now, but like I really internalized it and I dealt with it a lot. And I still do where I'm like, I have this like inherent need to like protect people. And
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
a
crazy how it
heavy
messes
burden
with
to take
you.
on at 5.
You I did do it to myself.
I mean, gosh. Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
that's a great point. Yeah, Lindsay, that's I agree with you on your take on that.
Yeah, Lindsay said these productions are messing with people's lives. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Lindsay also said it's the voyeurism of the public that drives so much of the production's behavior to be as salacious as possible. Yeah, also true. So it's like
Yeah.
it's not just their bosses, right? It's like the public, and it's like, okay, well, I need to pay my bills. So this needs to be a fucking successful season, or else they're going to get a new producer next season.
Mhm.
Is it
Exactly. It's exactly
not in
right.
this economy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I've talked to several producers who are like, love what you're doing. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff we've had to do. I've had some that are like, I had to leave. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. Like it's very, it's a very like strange cycle to be in. Like, because you're not going to go, unfortunately, like if you produce reality TV, you're not going to, and I heard this from a producer, like this isn't just my take. If you do reality TV, like you're not going to go work on the next Oscar winning, feature film. Like they just don't look at you the same way in the industry.
right, right. Yeah. Peggy, who is our awesome monitor, said, question, season 2 had a clear villain that ended up really getting the shaft. Oh, I'm wondering if I know who this is. How manufactured was that? The hatred a few of them got either seemed unfair or specifically pointed on purpose.
I would love to know who you're talking
Who are you
about because
talking
it's
about,
going to be a couple
Peggy?
people. But what I
Or should she not? I'm like, maybe naming
Well,
names isn't the
because there
nicest.
were a couple I would say that were villainized in one way or another. That's why I'm curious who she's talking about.
Well, I think the lady with the Christian lady whose family was like, "Are you a man of God? Okay, get the fuck out of our house." Like, she didn't get a great
Oh,
edit,
that
but
was yeah. No,
maybe that was just
listen, that was Shayna. Shayna
mhm.
is one of the sweetest, kindest people in
So
the
she just
world.
got a fucking terrible edit.
So she got coerced. And this is not my story to tell. And she's got a wonderful private life she's built for herself and her new husband, and she's going to have a baby soon. You can see it all on social media. I'm not breaking news. So I don't want to like drag her like back into it, but I will say she's the nicest, sweetest person.
So
I
she
knew
definitely got a villain edit.
yeah, and she definitely, I think she would tell you she did some things she wish she would have done different, but there's so much manipulation in this that I think she was, put up to stuff. And fun fact for you, a little tea on the show. Like when I found out
Yes,
that
tea.
Shayna was Christian, I right there said, okay, I just want you to know, love talking to you. This is never going to work. And she
Mhm.
tells this story way better than I do, because she's funnier than I am. But she tells it, and I'm like, she's like, never going to work between us. But I really like talking to you, so I'll list you, as someone I want to keep talking to. But want to make sure we're on the same page that we're just going to be friends. So we talked all the way until almost the bitter end, even though we weren't going to be dating after like the second day, because she's such a fun person to talk to. She's hilarious. She's a lovely person. She's one of the few people from the show that like reached out to me when my divorce leaked and was very, supportive. I think the world of Shayna. I love her husband as well. And I'm just happy that she's been able to get away from it and find what appears to be very, very happy family that she deserves. So I do think she was unfairly represented in some cases, even though she probably did some things that she wished she would have done different.
Yeah. But I mean, wow, I do things every fucking day that I wish I would have done different.
You don't do it on
So,
TV though. That's the difference.
no, oh my God. And even like on YouTube, I'm like, dude, I like podcasting so much better because, like, generally it's not live. And then I can say, hey, whoever's editing this, what's up? I just sounded like a total dick. So if you could take that out so I don't sound like an asshole, that'd be cool.
I feel like
Thanks.
I might have done that twice. I'm always like, let me rephrase that, or let me start again. I feel like I've said that twice here. Let me start again.
I
even
think
though we're
you
live.
did good. Lindsay said, and I think this is she's great. Love Lindsay. She said, "No, Nick, you didn't do it to yourself, honey. Honey, it was impressed upon you by adults. You internalized it as a child and took on a burden that wasn't yours to carry." I'll hear that too.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Lindsay.
very true, and thank you for the kind words and support.
Yeah, you guys go.
Now
I
I'm
don't know
just
what
trying to
Lindsay does.
protect.
She just goes live on TikTok. Like, Lindsay, let's start a podcast or something. Let's do it. Every day I'm like, hey, do you want to like do a project with me? And she like has another job and a husband and like a house she's remodeling.
Family.
She's like being an adult, and people are like, so what do you do? I'm like, podcast. They're like, what do you do for work? Podcast. What do you do for fun? Podcast. Like I have no other answers. So we're working on that though, because it's good to be multifaceted humans. Brendan
Lots
said,
of.
off topic, is your dad IBEW? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
So probably not. Brendan, let us know.
IBEW.
Brendan said, and I think this is a great little segue into talking about your foundation. Could labor unions in the entertainment industry demand protections and pay for people on reality TV?
100% yes. Now here's a whole nother sidebar. We could do probably a whole different
We'll do more
conversation
episodes.
on.
I love it.
So yes. Now what's happening here, and here's where you're gonna see my growing up working class and understanding how labor and everything works come out. Reality cast members are classified by these contracts and these production companies as contractors. When you're a contractor, you are not protected by the National Labor Relations Act, which is basically the rules of labor in this country. And so because of that, we sign a contract that gives away our right to be in a union, form a union, or be an employee to any union, or be an employee part of any union. So what I've done and what others are doing and what we're doing with the UCAN Foundation, because we have three pillars. One is we want to help cast members past, present, and future get mental health support. We want to do the same with legal support. And then we want to advocate for change in the industry. And the advocate for change in the industry is filing what's called charges against these production companies with the National Labor Relations Board, which is the NLRB, because they're the government entity that gets to determine who's an employee and who's a contractor in disputes. So I have filed a charge with the NLRB claiming that by law, the amount of hours we worked, whole bunch of other things, we should be considered employees. And by the way, we also got W-2s, which I could get into the whole accounting gymnastics that are being done there. So that is a charge that I filed. So under investigation right now with the National Labor Relations Board is my charge. And then we've also got several others from other shows and other cast members going in too. And the goal of this is for the NLRB, which is basically the federal government, to say that reality cast members are employees. Once they declare us employees, then all of these NDAs become basically null and void in the contracts, because now you're allowed to whistleblow about your workspace and your work conditions.
Oh.
You're allowed to speak freely about what it was like working on these shows. You're
You get
allowed
your
to
human
join a
rights
union, form a
back?
union. Yeah. And then you're subject to like overtime pay. You're subject to specific salaries, like all of this stuff that they like get you to sign away would be deemed illegal if the government determines that we're employees. So that's where we're at right now. That
Awesome.
investigation is underway. I talk a little bit about it in the Hulu special that just came out like a week and a half or almost 2 weeks ago now. It's called Impact X Nightline. It's a great episode, and we get
Oh,
into that a little bit as well. So I encourage you to check that out.
and I'm guessing that how much you got paid, which I don't know, divided by
$1,000 a week.
1,000
A week.
for like
No
20 hours a day of work.
Yeah, it comes out to
So
be about $7.14 an hour.
I pay my fucking editors more than that, and I'm poor as shit, dude.
Yeah,
Because I'm too lazy to edit. Or not
me
lazy, I
too.
just don't want to. So I mean, like that is fucked up. They're like literally just, and
Well, they
these companies
convince
have
you.
money.
Oh yeah,
They have so much
that's the
money.
thing. They convince you that they're paying you with fame and followers, that you're going to be able to monetize so. And it's like, you can't pay people with fucking social media followers and this concept of fame when you're going to make billions of dollars off of them.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
So exploitative. Oh my fucking god.
It's so yeah, it is. It really is.
That's like half the minimum wage.
Well, that
which
was
is
the whole thing with Jeremy Hartwell, who's the co-founder of the UCAN Foundation. He filed a class action lawsuit against Kinetic, which is the production company for Love Is Blind, because when we were filming in California, they violated several California labor laws.
wow. And really quick back to labor. Brendan said I was a union steward for a couple years. Well, he said, you said your dad was an electrician. IBEW is International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. I am a local 58 Detroit. Sup,
So
Brendan?
that's awesome. Very good to hear. I don't know if it's the IBEW, but he is unionized as of, man, I want to say it was like 2019 or 2018. They unionized over at his hospital.
The thing is like unionizing is really in people's best interests, but like the people, I don't know, from the big companies, they come and say like, no, don't unionize, like it's gonna fuck you guys over. And so it's people don't like realize that actually.
And that's illegal. Like, people don't know that's illegal. That's union busting. It's illegal. And the NLRB that we have now, that, listen, not going to get into Joe Biden, but like the one good thing I can say he's done is he has a very progressive labor focused NLRB. And they actually recently declared that if they catch a company union busting, that company legally has to automatically recognize the people they were union busting as a union and negotiate with them.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah, it's like a very progressive NLRB. They're really, and that's why we got to hurry up and get this done before Trump wins again.
No, seriously, hurry. I don't know. I might take a vacation from like say October to February next year.
Smart. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, let's all just go let's just start like a cool cult for 6 months, you guys. Let me know if you want in. Yeah, so yeah, and Lindsay said that's like me shooting editorial work for free, but you get credit in the magazine.
Pretty much. Well said.
Yeah, it's
very well said.
Well, Nick, this has been so awesome. It's been so great talking to you, so illuminating. I had all these questions written that I didn't even get to. I do have one question though.
Yeah.
So, obviously you talk a lot about mental health, and what has what was your process of sort of moving towards healing kind of after, I think you said it was kind of like after you got off the show and the dust settled is when you realized like, wait, that was super fucked.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. It was so you come out of this thing, and I mean I like have all of this stuff written down, and one day maybe I'll write a book, but I have all this stuff written down. It's like really into the sections of like really like where I was before the show, what happened during, to me, Danielle, my relationship, what happened after show before the show aired, which was two people desperately trying to really like figure out how to be married after that extreme circumstance. And so we were both hyper focused on like making sure, we have a good timeline of events, making sure we can work out, our conflicts in a healthy way. Cause that's another thing. These shows, you build bad conflict resolution skills because you don't have anyone to help you with, and everything's like hypersensitive, right? And so we were very focused on that. And then finally, I think we started to figure some of that stuff out, and then the show comes out, and then it was like, now we have to deal with having this less than a year old marriage that's fragile and for obvious reasons of the situation. And there's a lot of love there, like there was no question about that. But then the show comes out, and then we're in the public eye, and she got Danielle got a lot of really horrible things said to her and about her on social media, on those commentary shows that everybody seems to, love. And she had a very hard time. I had a very hard time. We didn't know how to, you don't know how to be there for each other in that situation. Like no one would. It's impossible. And so everything was just like hyper elevated and hyper extreme. And it took, so we got divorced. It leaked on TMZ before, like days after it was filed.
TMZ. Oh.
Yeah. And so I hadn't even told, everything happened very fast. I hadn't even told my parents. Only my close friends knew. And so it was just a constant fire hose coming. And then, there was some, like the whole attacking my friend thing who came here from England and all of that stuff. And all this stuff was like picking up to the point where I ended up losing my job in November, like a month after all of this happened, maybe 2 months after all this. So I was just like, the world just kept like punching me in the face. And I felt like the world was happening to me and I wasn't an active participant in it. And it was December 22nd last year. Like, what are we at now? I'm 2 days away from you, where I sat there and I actually did a several hour interview with Dr. Isabel Morley for Psychology Today, who she's also the director of mental health services at the UCAN Foundation. She wanted to do an article on the abuse that she had seen as a psychologist and as a couples therapist, that she had seen watching these shows. And she asked if I would interview. And so I did. And it just ended up being like 2 days in a row of hours from the moment I got reached out to by a casting agent all the way to where I was. And when I like finished that call with her, I was like, oh my God, like I've been taking it day by day for 2 fucking years. And I don't even have anything to show for it, except like I've lost everything. Like I worked so hard for my career. I gave up everything for my career. I gave up relationships because I wanted to like outgrow my class that I had growing up. And that was my goal. And it was brutal. And I just sat there. I remember I deleted social media for, a week or two around the new year. I like didn't like do the holidays. Like it was brutal. And then it was this point where I'm like, okay, this all happened. I'm going to focus on me. I'm not even going to take it day by day. I'm going to take it hour by hour until I can take it day by day. And I'm just, I'm sitting there. So I'm like, everything I fought for, everything I worked for, this show is giving me all of this trauma and none of the benefits. And I've lost my job. I eventually went through all of my savings. Like I just did everything right. And I stayed true to my character the whole time. And in my like ethos is if you stay true to yourself, things are going to work out. And I just hit rock bottom, and it took me months. I mean, I would say I'm never going to be the same again. I accept that. I'll never be the same again. But where I get my energy and my like willingness to fight is knowing that I had it bad, but there are so many people that have it worse. And I'm going to do everything that I can to leave this industry better than I found it, because I have to, because it's the only thing that I can do to fix that piece of me that is so broken and hurt from all of this. So that's why I agreed finally, after several months, when this all started clicking back in April. It was Jeremy, in all honesty, he had already started the paperwork to form UCAN. He was trying to get me to be involved. I pushed it off and said, no, I want out of this world. I don't want to be in this world anymore. And then, Business Insider was doing an expose, and I kind of ghosted the reporter for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I always have this saying, someone should say something. And if someone's not going to say something, then I will do it. Just like I end up a group leader in group projects at school because no one else will take it. And then you're the last one there. And it's like, well, someone's got to do it. Right. It's that kind of mentality. And so that's where I am.
I've never
Like,
been that
it's
person
healing.
in group projects. I fucking hated group projects in school because of that.
Yeah,
It's like
I know.
the day before it's due. I was like, all right, guys, well, I guess I'll just fucking do it then and put your names on it, you dicks. I never
ended up with the people that were like, I'll take it right away. And then
No!
they go do most of it. Like, they
No!
always in a different group.
No, you never got that. No, you never. No, I'm with you on that. I
Unbelievable.
one time in college when I was in my 30s, I was like, I'm too old for this shit. I'm not letting these 20-year-olds take my grade down. I emailed the professor. I was like, look, these motherfuckers aren't doing their part. Like, I was like, I don't even care. Snitches get stitches. I don't give a fuck. Hey, they're not doing their work. None of them. I didn't give a shit.
Good for you. Fuck them.
Yeah, no, I was in my 30s. I was like, fuck you guys. I worked too hard to be here. Well, I think it seems like you've made well, first of all, real quick, I would like to argue that it's like the whole I had it bad, but so many people had it worse than me. I gotta say no. Like, don't compare your trauma, please. Like, you had it bad and other people have had it worse, and that doesn't diminish what you went through at all. I actually
Thank you.
Lindsay knows this because I fucking have gone off on her text wise. Like, why do people who've been in coercive groups like trauma compare? Because I grew up with a narcissist. I've been in AA, which once I dissected that was like, oh my God, I was in a patriarchal, pretty fucking Christian, kind of culty like group for like 4 years. Whoa, what happened? But like, I just noticed there's so much trauma comparing. It's like, oh, but you weren't in fucking like a cult that everybody knows the name of, or you didn't go through this or that. And it's like, you know what? Like, I've been fucking sexually assaulted. Like, we don't need to play the trauma comparing game. Like, we've all been through some shit. Listen, like, when I sit and listen to your story, I'm like, oh my God, I would have died if I went through that. One day, if I sit down
for a little while.
Yeah, and if I sit down and tell you one day my story, you'll probably go, holy fuck, how did you survive that? It's like,
Well,
it's
that's why
all
you got to
relative.
come on my podcast.
Oh, I will.
Do the reverse.
I'll come and trauma dump all over you. No, but I love it's like you said, if you can name it, you can tame it. And I love talking about mental health because it really is like, it's like, yeah, once I was able to pinpoint, oh, I don't have OCD and ADHD and borderline personality disorder and bipolar and anxiety disorder and depression. Oh, I have this one thing called complex PTSD. Sick.
Yeah.
Let's tackle that.
Let's get that.
I'm in EMDR. I don't know if
I do. Yeah. That's great.
EMDR.
I have a friend. I don't know. I should check with her. I know she was getting training in that. She's a therapist. I know she was getting trained in that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's highly recommend, you guys. As not coming from a professional, but somebody who has done
a lot of therapy,
many years and hours. I'm like, I should just be a therapist. Like, I know this shit.
That should be a prerequisite. Like, you've been through 300 hours of therapy at a minimum.
But being the
patient.
The patient. Yeah. Like, you gotta just be an honorary therapist first. Yeah, but I would love to come on your show sometime and talk about mental health and just like how we how we both have, because I have hit like multiple rock bottoms. So when you're talking about like hitting rock bottom, and then also
I always say I have this never-ending quest to find rock bottom, and I get to where I think it is, and I'm like, oh no, there's a basement down there.
wait, oh my God, let's go explore. Yeah, I feel that. But I think, and Danielle said something similar. She said, I'm just getting back to who I was before the show. It sounded like you guys both were like pretty fucking confident, happy people before you were completely traumatized by being put in a completely coercive and controlling situation that basically just like, but I would like to say, maybe you'll never get back to who you were, but like maybe you'll get back to this more amazing person who like took that and said, you know what, like that sucked and fuck that, but also I'm really strong and I'm going to help people now. I'm going to make them aware of what's going on and I'm going to help them in these situations. And you're obviously not going to take reality TV down. That shit's never going away. People love
And
it
I don't
way
want
too
to.
much.
Yeah, I don't want
Exactly.
to. I
But
just
so
don't
can we
wanna.
just make it better?
Yeah, I just don't want people's lives to be completely ruined. Like, let's
Yeah.
give them support. Let's leave out some of the unnecessary theatrics that are really damaging to people. Let's pay people, right? Like, how is it, and people hate that this is very polarizing, but like I had a really hard time finding a job for 10 months. And, it was I would end up in these never-ending cycles about what being a public figure and all that. And it's like I was sitting there and I'm like, wow, like Netflix is making season after season after season of the show. I didn't make really any money on it. And I opted not to do, like any type of brand sponsorships or deals that didn't align with me. So I didn't like rake in, millions of dollars like other people keep bragging about. And it was by choice. So it was like, how am I in this like horrible state? And I still get almost every day people saying, "Oh, I just watched your season," and yeah, great. Well, you're going to see me, homeless or sleeping outside soon because I can't pay my freaking mortgage while they make billions. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So we can do these things where we can make these ethically. We can pay people for the time that they're working, and we can treat people exactly like human beings, and we can make fun reality TV that's still dramatic, that's still enjoyable, that's still escapism, and we just don't have to damage hundreds, if not thousands of people in the process.
Oh, thousands. It's, gotta
Yeah,
be.
it
There's new
is.
reality shows coming out
That's going
every
to be my
day.
pitch to SAG-AFTRA. It's like, hey, you guys want like thousands of new members that paying union members? Absorb us.
Oh my God. No, seriously though, no, you're doing great stuff. I love it. You guys go check out, what's the website?
Oh, you can check out the foundation is youcanfoundation.org. We are a 501(c), and that means if you do want to make any financial donations, it's totally tax deductible. Also, spread the word. Follow us on Instagram, which you see right here, and we put exclusive content up there. We're going to be doing even more exclusive stuff soon there, so that's great. You can also follow me at my Instagram, which is right there, Nick Thompson. Also, my show Eyes Wide Open is on YouTube. It's on anywhere you listen to your podcast. And we just focus on tackling cultural issues. And that can be things about mental health. Sometimes it's about just overall health and wellness, labor issues, anything going on in the culture that you're like seeing day to day, we talk about on there.
Yeah, and I would love to talk more about you since you're interested in, or I'd like to talk more with you about like the fact that whatever, guys, I'm saying it. They're like, Ashley thinks everything is a cult. It is.
It
It
is.
fucking is, you guys. It's just like, is it where on the spectrum is it? Like, is it a cool cult? Like, is it Rocky Horror Picture Show and we're all throwing toast? Or is it getting trafficked, human trafficked and being locked into rooms and being coerced and like psychologically and manipulated and abused, and like what kind of cult is it? Is it a podcast? Which is actually a great way for me to wrap it up, because like our sign off is, it's not a cult, you guys. It's just a podcast. but really it's a cult. Cause it is culty. Like we have a
Well,
Discord and
you did invite everyone to a weird island to start a cult and get out of here next year. So
I did. And that's not the first time I've done it, and it won't be the last. Like, and me and some of my team went like to Florida this year, and like we're gonna get matching tattoos. But
and we're gonna all live in the same house.
we did for a few days. So, but so cults can be, it's just, I think like it's community. It's like community is like culty. It's like the same type shit. And it's just like,
That
is
would
your
be a good
community
episode for
cool
you.
or not?
Like, yeah, that'd be a good episode. Like, let's point out the cult features and all of these things that we just take in community. Think about like work. When your CEO gets up there and it's like, we're a family. No, we're not.
Oh yeah,
I
or where
do
it's like,
labor,
hey,
you
welcome
pay
to the
me.
company. What's the worst trauma you've ever been through? I had a friend who like worked like several corporate jobs and said, like one of them, it's like first day, it's like, okay, everybody go around in a circle and say your worst trauma.
Oh my
I'm sorry. Did I just get a job as a fucking secretary at Starbucks? Why the fuck are we having group therapy right now? Yeah. So I think let's definitely do, and yeah, I think we have so much more to talk about. So we will do that again. You guys, I think we better wrap it up because it's late. Well, it's late for Nick and I. We both agreed that we're like earlier people, right?
I'm actually a night owl. I'm a
Oh,
night
you
owl.
have something to do after this.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have something to do in a little bit here.
Oh, I thought you were like,
I'm
can we
not
make
a morning person.
I thought you were like, can we make it a little bit earlier? Because you wanted to be done earlier, which I was like, yes, like I love being done with the day by like 5.
Well, I'll tell you, when we record my episode, we can do it like at lunchtime or something.
Whatever works.
Whatever works.
I'm
not before 10 though. I don't even allow booking before 10
Oh
unless.
my gosh, that is when I'm like on fire or having panic attacks, depending on the day. It's fun. You just wake up and see.
It's like a surprise for you every morning.
Yeah, it is. Woo! And that's what years and years and years of therapy gets you guys. No, I'm unhinged, but like I don't know. I feel like I'm figuring it out. We're all doing our best
We're all
here, you
doing
guys.
the best we can.
I think we can both agree, like 10 out of 10 recommend therapy, right? I love that shit.
Life-changing.
Everybody should do it. Like, listen, something has happened to you. Somebody said something. Like, I don't know. That's
going to be the baseline of the cult we start. It's just going to be like this therapy. Like everyone's in therapy all the time.
Oh, I feel like that's like the beginning of like Nexium and so many like self-help cults though. Shit, we are going in a questionable direction because I have to go eat dinner.
I am starving.
Yeah. I eat like one meal a day, which probably doesn't help the fact that I'm like
I do too.
Unhinged. Oh, do you just like survive on coffee and anxiety until like 6?
Sometimes 7, but yes, exactly.
What is up, friend? I knew we were kindred spirits. I could feel it.
This is my first like calories, I think, of the day outside of black coffee. And it's
like,
a
drink.
Yeah, it's my field of greens, vitamin D, collagen, and creatine.
That's me. I'm like, a smoothie is a meal. I just got so many vitamins. Like, you can't tell me it's not. This was so fun. You guys, thank you for coming and watching. Let me do like a sign off. So I will just say, you guys, goodbye to the audience. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to do like an official podcast sign off because we're putting this up as an episode.
And thank you all for the support and great questions too. It's really appreciated.
Yeah, go to Nick's. So you guys, make sure to go listen to Nick's podcast, Eyes Wide Shut with Nick Thompson. Follow Nick. Damn it! Fuck. See, I have to go. Eyes Wide Open with Nick Thompson. Go to his website, youcanfoundation.org, and I I have such a list now of episodes of yours that I have to go listen to because I'm like, well, what was going on at Married in First Sight Australia or whatever the fuck you said, you know? So, yeah, you guys definitely go check that out and keep following the YouTube live. That's where, you know, you guys can see live and unscripted, and then some episodes like this one we're putting on the podcast feed because it's just too good not to be in both places. So if you're watching on YouTube, go listen to the podcast. That's So Fucked Up. If you are listening on the podcast, go check out the YouTube. That's So Fucked Up Live, and visit my website too. That would be cool. tsfuthepodcast.com. And like the video, go subscribe to both of our podcasts. If you enjoy them, rate them and review them. That's super helpful. We love that. And remember, it's not a cult, it's just a podcast. But really, reality TV is a cult, and so is the podcast. But the podcast is cool, and reality TV is cool if it's done in an ethical way, which Nick is working on. Go, Nick.
We're going to get it done.
Yay! Bye, everybody. Happy holidays.